Hello, my name is Sergio Wiso. This is my presentation for the American federal government class. So first of all, I want to take a minute to apologize. I know the background is not the best. It's not optimal, but they're doing renovations down in my kitchen, and they just finished my room, so my desk is not back yet, but we'll work with it. So inflation, we'll get right into it. Inflation. Why are prices so up, and what can Congress do to make it better? So I'll begin with some background info, some past challenges, some solutions, past attempts. So you can see that this really is an issue, a very pressing issue. So I'll start off with the background information. Prices in the US went up very fast during the COVID-19 pandemic, and people still feel the effects now. Yes, this is very true. So after the pandemic, inflation hit the US very hard. From 2020 to 2022, the CPI, according to the reserve, the CPI went up about 8.5%, which means that everyday items, everyday expenses were just costing way more. The federal government spent trillions in relief bills, pumping money into the economy while supply chains were still lagging behind. They were still recovering. What does this mean? This means that more dollars were chasing the few goods that were still available in the market, and these made the prices go insane. It just blew up the prices. Constitutional challenges. So moving fast is very difficult. I think this is the main topic of this slide. Moving fast is very difficult, and this is why. The why is because the Constitution splits the power between Congress, the president, and the Fed. So Congress controls the spending and takes care of all the tax due diligence and all that. The president, he's busy signing bills or I don't know, just doing president stuff. And the Fed is adjusting their rates to whatever is going on in the economy. So because these powers are so divided, responding quickly to an issue is very hard. So, for example, if Congress wants to do something, they need the approval of the Fed and the president and the other guy. And they need a million people to agree to be able to move forward with something, and that just makes decision making and decision taking process very slow. So, political barriers. Politics also slows action. Cutting spending in itself can anger voters because they may not agree with your cut. So what Congress does when they're faced with these types of decisions, they usually just they avoid them. They avoid the tough choices. When it is known that lobbyists push for spending in specific industries like the energy industry or the agriculture industry, which makes them have a high demand. Then disagreements mean that even simple proposals get tied up in debate, in legislation, litigation. There's just it becomes a huge process, which is super, super, super unnecessary, and is the reason why inflation remains high, even though everyone knows that something needs to be done. Everyone knows that there's some cuts that need to be made. So slide number 5, trial and error slide. Policy attempts and failures. So Congress passed massive, massive, massive stimulus and relief bills during the COVID-19 pandemic. They passed a $1.9 trillion under the American Rescue Plan, which is just an insane number. While I completely understand that these checks and benefits saved many Americans and just made people be able to get through the pandemic alive, and they were super, super necessary. In the end, all they did was push more money into the economy. They kept the demand high while the supply chains were still lagging behind. There was still very low supply and way too high of a demand. And just the combination of the government spending and the super high inflation and the very low supply that was available made inflation itself worse, showing that even if we have well-intended policies, they can still be there can still be holes, and we need to work better to be able to have a better response when issues like this occur. And so, what are the next steps that need to be taken? I believe that these 3 steps would be a major progress towards uh, fixing inflation. So, first of all, we need to address the issue of the Congress spending. Then, I believe that just like President Trump, we need to have a USA first approach. And then, third of all, we need to dignify the people. We need to dignify and protect the jobs, simplifying rules. So, to reduce inflation, Congress needs a multi step plan, in my opinion. What does this mean? That there's just so many small issues that create a huge one that we need to solve these small issues by themselves. We need to solve a small issue here. We need to solve a small issue there. And then since we're having so many solutions to these small problems, the big problem just becomes smaller. This is what I mean by the next steps that need to be taken. I understand it won't be fixed in one day, but Congress definitely needs a multi-step plan. And the very, very, very first step of that plan needs to be to limit unnecessary federal spending. We need to focus. They're focusing right now on programs with the highest impact rather than maintaining subsidies. Second, we definitely need to invest in domestic manufacturing and energy to reduce supply chain dependence on imports and stuff from other countries, which is what President Trump is doing with the tariffs. And then third of all, we definitely need to simplify the regulations of trade because these just makes everything slower. We need to ensure that these trade deals are supporting American industries to prevent price rises. And we need to work together domestically and internationally to make these prices more stable for families. Then here's a list of my sources. Here's all the sources that I used. And thank you very much.